piece you were just listening to was Mozart's Clarinet Concerto Movement 3, performed by the Munich Chamber Orchestra, and the soloist was none other than our fabulous guest today, Andrea Caputo. If you don't know him yet, you should. He is a newly appointed Associate Principal Clarinetist with the LA Phil. And in today's conversation, we talked about his journey as a clarinetist, starting all the way from day one as a musician to where he is now with a job in the LA Phil. And before we get into it, I'd just like to point out apologies if the audio was a little wonky. We noticed after we were done recording that Andrea's audio came out a little bit softer than mine. But even if the audio quality on this isn't as great, doesn't take away from the quality of the conversation we had. So let's get into it. I hope you enjoy. Welcome back, clarinet enthusiasts, to episode number 15 of the Clarinet Channel. My name is Emily Johnston. I am your host, and today we're talking with Andrea Caputo from the LA Phil. Welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you on.
I'm excited too. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. I've had so many amazing guests on the show, but I think this is the first time that we've had a principal clarinetist of a major U.S. orchestra on the show. So I'm excited to dive in a little bit more into what it means and what it takes to sit in that position. So I'm excited to dive into that a little bit more today.
Well, I haven't yet sat in the chair because I have just been appointed associate principal clarinet of the LA Phil in February, and I will be starting officially in July for the Hollywood Bowl season. So I haven't really sat in the chair as of now, but I will. So maybe this is a question that you can ask me
Yeah,
in a couple months time.
right.
But if I have to make a prediction of how it's gonna be or how I feel right now, I feel extremely grateful. I feel excited. I feel a sense of responsibility, of course, and I'm just very genuinely looking forward to practicing the rep and sitting there, getting to know colleagues and people, musicians I've admired for a long time. In the past 3 years, I went to the Philharmonic a lot to listen to concerts. I know all of them. I know how they play, uh, and it's just an honor for me to be among them.
Right. Yeah, I think that it's easy to say that you have achieved a lot of clarinetists' dream job almost, and you've achieved a great feat of strength in the clarinet world. So I'm excited to talk a little bit about, your journey and through that process and getting to that point. So before we dive in, can you tell us a little bit about yourself or about you as a clarinetist so we could get to know you better?
Sure, I have a couple funny stories actually. So let me start from what I think is the beginning. I started off with piano with my mother. I was 3 years old, and I kept going for a few years. But as you can imagine, it's kind of hard to practice an instrument with your parents. It's it's just there is not enough. Um, there is only so much control they can have over you because they love you so much. So they're gonna concede things. Oh, today I'm gonna practice less. And we came out to the point where my mom was begging me to practice 30 minutes a day, and so that was obviously not gonna work out. But then I was in elementary school. I had just stopped with the piano, and I went to a middle school concert where they offered instrument courses, and the instruments were trumpet, flute, percussion, and clarinet. And I remember clearly my older cousin was there and he was bashing the drums and everyone was cheering him on and in the audience. And so I said, "Oh, I want to play percussion." So I went to my little entrance exam in middle school to pick an instrument. They admitted me and they gave me my first choice, which was percussion. But then my mother, behind my back, went to the school board and she said, "I know my son. He hates loud noises. He's gonna get tired of it. He loves listening to percussion, but he's not gonna love playing it. So trust me on this, give him his second choice, whatever that is. And my second choice was clarinet, because I also loved clarinet. And then there's a little story, because then I discovered that by accident, because the professor came in and we were in a bookshop with my mom, and I said, oh, we decided to do what you asked us for, so we gave him the clarinet. So I realized that my mom went behind my back and betrayed me. And I was mad for a few seconds, but then I went to my first clarinet lesson, and I loved it so much that I thanked my mom like a day later, and I couldn't stop practicing clarinet.
Wow. Well, you said that that was your second choice because you really liked it. Was there a reason why you liked it so much?
Oh yeah, in Italy, especially in the south, we have a very big tradition for marching bands.
Mhm.
So for both religious occasions or non-religious occasions, and there were three marching bands only in my small little town. My town is in a province of Salerno, which is the first city of the Amalfi Coast, and 10,000 people town, and they had three marching bands. Can you imagine? That's huge for a city this small, if
Mhm.
you think about it. So there is a big traditions, and as you can imagine, the client was very prominent in marching bands. They were all marching in front of the line and, you know, squeaking their tunes, and it was just something that I like to see when they marched through the city. So I also had an eye out for the clarinet. Yeah,
Yeah. It was like love at first sight almost.
yeah, you could
Was
say.
there a moment after you picked up the clarinet and you started practicing it that you felt like, okay, this is like the career for me. Like this is what I want to do.
Well, I was 10 at the time, so I didn't really think in terms of career. I have to say my childhood dream was always to be a surgeon, a doctor. Um, that obviously didn't work out, but by choice, um, because I am a very empathetic person, and I don't think I could have sustained that career personally. I think my heart would have ached a lot from that. And so growing up, I started realizing that I loved music more than anything else, and music was the only thing that really fulfilled me as a person, as a human being. So I said, you know what? I'm just gonna go for it.
Did you ever experience any sort of moments when you were growing up and you started playing the clarinet and you started pursuing it as your career? Was there any moments where you felt like you faced a really hard obstacle or hardship that kind of almost held you back or discouraged you in any way?
Yes, many. Um, I think we all know, as musicians, classical musicians in the professional world, the toll that practicing and auditioning takes on us.
Mhm.
It's a lot of sacrifice, a lot of sweat, it's a lot of blood, but it's also there are ecstatic moments, joyful moments, and that's what we live for. Your heart pumping on stage. There were some particular discouraging moments after my first period at the Conservatory of Music, because I was under the tutelage of a teacher who, in the south of Italy, people are pretty still close-minded, and they were very jealous teachers. It's like, oh, you can only have lessons with me. I'm the best. If you go have another masterclass with another teacher, learn something else somewhere else, I will consider that as betrayal. So I had a lot of back and forth because I wanted to explore what was around me, and I ended up um, fighting with my first conservatory teacher because he would not allow me to go anywhere else and take a masterclass and see what was around me, and that really hurt me. And it was not until I met um, my other teacher, my Italian teacher Alessandro Carbonare, the Accademia di Santa Cecilia in Rome that I realized, oh, there is more to it. Maybe I can give this a shot.
Yeah, so you felt like kind of um, diving into another path or starting to study with another teacher might have opened your mind a little bit more and discovered a little bit more about clarinet.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, um, I think finger wise, I was okay before going to go before going to study with Alessandro Carbonare. But everything else, I had no clue of what I was doing. My embouchure, my reed, my material, my mouthpiece. Um, I remember clearly going to the audition for his courses at the Accademia di Santa Cecilia in Rome, and I was playing an M30 mouthpiece, Pandoran, with 2.5 reeds. And for listeners who are not of the field, you can tell how light that setup is. It's like blowing on a piece of paper instead of a cane reed. And I remember clearly I played my Weber first concerto exposition, and then he was nodding, and he looked at me and he said, very good. May I ask you which material are you playing? And I said, Maestro, I'm playing M30 with 2.5 reeds. And he looks at me like, light, huh? But he said it in a way, almost in a fatherly way. Maybe he thought that's what I like to think. Don't worry, I'm gonna fix you up. And first lesson, it changed up everything. It was traumatizing in a good way.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, we all have that moment.
we all have that moment of realization. Yes.
Yeah. So we've kind of talked all the way up to the point where you've gotten off of the M30 mouthpiece, off of the 2.5 reeds, and you're starting to up your game a little bit. Do you like looking back, is there a part in your preparation of becoming a professional that made the biggest difference?
Well, every single teacher I work with, um, Carbonara in Italy, and then Wenzel Fuchs in Salzburg for my master's, and Pascal Moraguès in Conservatory of Paris, and then here at the Colburn School with Yehuda Gilad. All of them have had a profound impact on my life, on my career. Um, are you asking about a specific moment, the biggest change, something that had the biggest impact on me?
Yeah. Yeah, like is there a moment in your career or um, a way that you prepared or the way that you practiced that you felt like had the biggest impact in propelling you into the professional
Oh,
world?
I see where you're going with the question. Um, I think my method is not anything surprisingly different from what you would expect. The only thing that I think gave me an edge is I'm extremely persistent, um, almost on an obsessive level, I have to say. So whatever happens, even if I have a disappointment, I have a rule: 24 hours is the cutoff, the limit, the maximum amount of time I can be mad about something, or distressed, or sad, or disappointed. After 24 hours, I need to be back on track. And I think success is years of failures that no one ever saw. Everyone has those moments, and I guarantee you're going to be successful if you pick yourself up. The more times you pick yourself up, the more things you will learn, and the more chances you will have of succeeding. And that was true for me. And maybe one of my more persistent methods is recording myself, listening back constantly to have a feedback of what I'm doing, because listening and playing are two different processes that involve two different areas of your brain. And as much, of course, you will be very successful if you can join the two and listen to yourself as much as you can while you're doing things. That's your end goal. But in the process of learning how to do that, you need to record yourself. And even if you want, even when you learn to do that, you still have to record yourself. So I record myself a lot. I listen back, and I play metronome games a lot, like playing on the offbeats. You know, if you play Brahms symphony, you play on the offbeats to make sure the second half of the beat is placed correctly. And of course, tuner.
Mm-hmm.
So 3 tools: record yourself, tuner, metronome. Have a clear idea of what you have to work on every single day. Sometimes when I'm on very high stress periods where I have a lot of music to prepare, I also like to write down things I have to do, like a sort of checklist, or at least make a mental
Right.
checklist. Yeah. So I
Yeah.
would say that's the lengthy reply to your question.
Yeah. Yeah, I like how you said my success came from just years of failure nobody saw. And that's kind of something I'm learning myself too. It's just like whenever you fail, the good news is that you're gonna learn more from a failure than from a success.
Oh,
And
absolutely. You learn nothing
yeah.
from success.
Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of the good news you can give yourself to just kind of lift yourself back up. And definitely when you work towards persistence in your playing and your practicing, you gain the confidence of consistency. And so I really like how you put that.
Yeah, I think perseverance is the biggest, most important, decisive factor that a musician in our field can have.
Yeah. And obviously it did work out for you.
It did. So I'm talking about something that I lived on my own skin. I've had moments where I felt, oh, maybe I cannot do this. Everyone has those moments,
Mhm.
and it's healthy to do them, and it's even healthier to be able to manage them
Right. Yeah.
and take care of your soul, your heart, your state of mind first, so you can put things into perspective.
Yeah. So clearly you managed to get a really successful orchestral career in clarinet. And so I guess one of my biggest questions for you is when you won your first audition, what do you think it was that set you apart in the audition that allowed you to win or really stand out to the panel?
To use my own voice, I have never. People that know me know that I make some personal choices in my playing, not because I want to play differently or I'm seeking to do something different just for the sake of doing it. I tried to. My mentor, uh, Mr. Gilad, he taught me how to think deeper, to go deeper into things, and listen to your own voice. Um, in fact, I have to say, every single one of his students plays differently from each other. There is no two people that play similarly because it does not shape them to be. It does not shape them according to a manual. You know, you need to do this, this, and this. It tries to understand what's your inner diamond, what's your inner voice, and just remove all the clutter from around. So, what I tried to do, I treated auditions as they were performances, like no differently from a concert. Of course, coming here to the States, I had a job in Europe, and audition process in Europe is very much different under many aspects, and also in the aspect of what they want to hear or expect to hear.
Mhm.
Um, so I had to adapt. For example, I I really truly believe that you need to make more music as long as you advance through the rounds. So maybe the premier round, I try to show everything that they need to know about me, the ABC, not who I am, but what I can do. So rhythm, intonation, style, articulation, consistency, technique.
Mhm.
I try to check all the fundamental boxes while communicating something. Dynamics, for example, very important. And then as you proceed with the rounds, you show more and more of your personality. And I tried to push that to the maximum limit I could. I tried to say, here, this is who I am. This is what I feel about these excerpts, about this music. And sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. And it's completely fair, it's completely normal, because maybe you don't connect with the panel. They are looking for something else. They're looking for a different sound. They're looking for different way of feeling the music. You know, if they have a very defined section and they're looking for the last piece of the puzzle, they could say, I don't think this person is going to fit into our group. And you need to accept that. And that's not a personal defeat. That's something you can cherish, you can learn from, and then move on to the next one.
Mm. Yeah, when with this next question, I've heard a variety of answers from a lot of different musicians. So I'm curious to hear what your answer is on this. But in an audition, how do you balance playing it safe and playing it like with perfect technique and rhythm and dynamics? How do you balance that with kind of being yourself and showing your individuality? Like, where is it ever too much? Is there ever a point where it's too much, or should you just go full in on be yourself?
That's a great question. I'm going to latch on to my previous answer, and I'm going to say the only round in which I think I consider just a tiny bit safety is the premier round, because every single reason, there are so many people that need to listen to. It's hard to be on the other side and listen to candidates, especially so many of them playing all standard excerpts. So they need to weed out people inevitably. And I think the biggest challenge in an audition is advancing the preliminary round. I'm a firm believer of that. So maybe I only consider safety in the very first round, but that's not my philosophy. I'm not a person who likes to play safe. I like everything to be in order. But if I want to make a mistake, not want to make a mistake, if I do make a mistake because I am attempting to do something better than I am, I'm attempting to reach for something that is more beautiful than I can possibly be or do, I'd rather fail beautifully rather than being a coward and not try.
Yeah, I really like how you put that. And in thinking about some of your previous auditions, do you ever feel like there was a specific moment where you're like, okay, that landed. Like that's what I needed to win, to get the panel listening.
I I I think so, but more in a context of I managed to show them some variety of colors. I think I managed to convey my ideas. Of course, there is always room for improvement. No round is ever gonna be perfect. Perfection does not exist. And it does not belong to music, by the way. It does not belong to art. Art is beautiful because it's imperfect, because it's human. So yeah, there have been moments where I felt fulfilled, like my mentor says, you need to fulfill your musical mission, and that's when I feel the most grateful. And then I try to detach my mind from the end result. So I didn't not want to think in terms, oh, I've landed this, so I'm gonna win the job. No,
Mm.
I've landed this excerpt, I've landed this musical idea, I'm happy. I don't care about what comes next because that's not up to me. I cannot control that. I need to try to be wise, and I need to think this is the only thing in my power, in my control, is what I do with my music on stage. I cannot control anything else. So also detaching myself from results and being judged also helped me in my process and in my way of persevering. Because, you didn't like me, even if I played well, that's fine. I'm gonna go on to the next one. There have been moments where I did not play well at all, and I expected not to pass, and I didn't, because I did not deserve to pass. And that's fine too. You learn from those too.
I think that's a really great attitude to have. I mean, obviously it's taken you so far, and so that's really great advice. And then you talking a little bit earlier about how you were a student at Colburn with Yehuda Gilad, it kind of perked my ears up. I was immediately like, "Ooh, there's a question I want to ask you." A
Please.
few years ago, I listened to. I don't know if you've heard this before, but Yehuda Gilad did an interview with Van Doren.
With
It's like 20 minutes long. It's on YouTube, something like that.
with David Gould.
I don't remember who the interviewer was. I know it was a thing that was sponsored by Van
Okay,
Doren.
it might have been with David Gould, and I might have heard,
Yeah,
watched a couple excerpts of it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, but it was super informative. I was listening to it like on the edge of my seat, like, oh wow, this is so amazing. But he started talking about what you started saying earlier about the he's looking for the diamond and just wants to take the crud off of the diamond. And every student is different. Every student has their own voice, how everybody has a different shaped palette. And so you're instinctively going to make a different sound just naturally. And he went as far as to say, like, if I'm ever playing with a student in a lesson, um, and they start to sound like me, like they start to imitate my sound, I put my
He
clarinet
doesn't want
down.
that. Yeah,
Yes, yes.
he hates
Okay.
that.
I'm glad you could back me up on this because I just got this from a 20-minute interview.
Yeah.
But so what really stood out to me was the importance he placed on just like having your own voice and being your own person, which I think is so great. Um, what what are some techniques that we can have as clarinetists that can help us like find our own voice and find our own sound and just be unique rather than just imitating other clarinetists?
First of all, you shouldn't want to be unique. You are already unique.
Mm,
It's
mhm,
inevitable. It's in your DNA. You is you. Then you should ask yourself the question, why am I doing this? What's my purpose? What's my mission? What's my goal? What I'm trying to achieve? What I'm trying to say? So you look at the score, everyone has the same informations. Like, I remember a quote from Alessandro Baricco um, book. It's in Italian. I don't know the quote in English. I'm not sure how the translation goes. But the Legend of the Pianist on the Ocean, the movie. I don't know if that's the translation of the title. The pianist who stays on the cruise ship his entire life.
mm,
He says like there are 88 keys on a keyboard, and there are infinite possibilities. That's the only thing I can do.
mhm,
So why you're doing this? Why? What are you trying to convey? Everyone has the same information, but you can have endless opportunities and possibilities on how to shape that information and make it true to you, your sound, your interpretation. That is what I think is going to make a difference. Asking yourself the question, what am I trying to say?
mhm.
You know?
Yeah, I like how it's a little bit more like you and maybe Yehuda Gilad has kind of more of like a philosophical answer to that question of just like you need to find yourself personally first before you can even tackle the idea of being unique as a clarinetist rather than, oh, well, you got to do these exercises and this tonguing exercise and you know what I'm trying to say?
No, I understand. I understand what you mean, and maybe some listeners will be slightly disappointed by the fact that there is no practical advice. Of course, there is practical advice on the side. There's a ton of exercises that we could talk about that I've learned from Yehuda and my other teachers, and what I have implemented and that what works for me. My own exercise that I've developed over the years that work on me. Um, But at the end of the day, it is a philosophical question. It is a philosophical challenge. I don't think you can be extremely successful even not placing your heart, 100% of your heart in what you do. But I think the end result is going to be much more beautiful and fulfilling if you do music, with your heart.
Really well put. Yeah. Yeah, I like how you said that. Um, I think I just have like one other audition related question for you.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked a little bit about having, being unique and showing your personality in an audition, which I think some people would call like an it factor. Do you think that this is something everybody's born with, or do you think this is something that people have to work towards getting?
Sorry, I think you cut off. Could you please rephrase that?
Yeah. So talking about the it factor in the auditions, do you
Mm-hmm.
feel like this is something you can build up, or is it something that you're just born with?
No, I don't think it's something you're born with. I think
Mm.
it's a process of finding your own voice, and uh, talent is very much overrated. It's persistency, consistency, perseverance, hard work. You need to be the hardest worker in the room at all times. Maybe I'm a bit obsessive about it, but that's my goal. And um, maybe you need a little talent, but I don't think that's really relevant. It's more who works the hardest and who so badly wants to do music and who so badly wants the position. Um, Not in terms of winning the audition, because of course you shouldn't put your mind to it. When you go to an audition, you shouldn't say, I want to win this. Just no, I want to play beautiful music.
Mhm.
I know it's very hard. And do you think I've done that most of the times? I haven't. I also went to auditions and I said, I want to win the audition. And I put some expectations on it because maybe I liked the city, maybe I wanted to live there. And then I learned that was detrimental to what I was doing. That was not my it factor. My it factor was something else. So, yeah, talent is overrated.
I love your just whole attitude behind clarinet and music. And it's just like passion is going to take you way farther than talent. Hard
Yeah,
work and just focusing on, I'm going to play beautifully and not think about anything else. I just love that.
I promise. I'm not. I don't pretend to have universal truth in my pocket. I'm checking, but I don't find it. Um, I promise that worked for me.
Yeah.
Okay, and if that worked for me, maybe it can work for someone else.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you have a lot of wisdom in the field. So when you first started playing in an orchestra, was there something about the job that was harder than you expected, easier than you expected?
I think learning how to be part of a small society. An orchestra can be the exemplification of the world, um, conceptualization of the word, if I may use this word. Um, Everyone comes from different backgrounds, had different teachers, different history, came to music from a different path, comes from a different country, especially in big orchestras like LA Philharmonic, uh, where they hire a lot of international people. So you don't only need to communicate with your music, but you need to communicate with your personality. And I think it does make a difference if you treat the people around you with kindness and sincerity, not being fake, not being politically correct when something happens, just honesty, sincerity, just with your heart. Uh, that's not something that that's something that you need to learn. How to express yourself in your honest way. I think um, when I was really young, that maybe was a challenge. And I've learned with time that it makes your job easier, it makes the music better, it makes relationship with people better. You feel like a family, and I think that's what I want to achieve when sitting in a chair.
Yeah, and if you feel like family, then you'll play like family and
Correct.
respect each other and everything.
That's
Yeah.
the first thing. Respect comes always first.
Yeah. Surprisingly enough, at this point, I've done a lot of these different interviews and talked with a lot of different clarinetists. And more often than not, the topic of just be a good person, be kind, be respectful, be honest comes up a lot. And I know I mentioned this before in the past, if you've listened to any of the previous interviews, but I've talked about this music in the real world class I was in when I was at UGA, studying in that class with Dr. Negus, and he was like, the biggest thing I want you to take from this class, which was basically a class about how to be a professional and go out into the world and be successful as a musician. And he would always say, like, the biggest thing I want you to take away from this class is be a good person.
Yes, I very much agree with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when it came to working in a large group like an orchestra, was there ever a situation where you felt like your musical instinct differed from the people around you, from the conductors? Obviously, being from Europe, maybe it was a little different kind of integrating into an American sound. Did you ever have to deal with anything like that?
I think the Los Angeles Philharmonic is very special in that regard because um, they're not very American per se. There are a lot of international people. Their voice is very free.
Mhm.
There are very beautiful individual voices in the orchestra, and they perfectly blend together. Um, of course, there are many differences between European and American orchestras, and I have felt in the past when I was like subbing in, because when you jump in for subbing or guest performer with an orchestra, you need to fit in immediately. You have no chance of rehearsing that before. And every orchestra is a small separate world. And there have been instances in which I have felt that, oh, maybe if there is a position available in this orchestra, maybe I should not take the audition because I don't feel like I am a good fit because of my sound, my ideas. You need to be realistic with yourself. You cannot be the best fit everywhere. There is someone else who's going to be a better fit, is going to be a better voice for the orchestra. And that sometimes does not line up with how prepared you are. It's just sometimes they're looking for something specific. So to answer your question, yes, I have felt at times that maybe this is not my fit, but I'm still gonna try my best. I'm gonna learn from it because you learn more from situations that are not comfortable for you in a sense that they're not what you expect.
Yeah, it sounds like the LA Phil. I like how you said we're not exactly American, like it's a mixture. And I almost feel like in a way that is pretty American because we are just like not a specific race, not a specific culture, but just like I've heard the word melting pot used before, just like we're
Mm-hmm.
just a blend of everything. And so I like how before you've even started there, you're able to kind of describe it in that way. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I have not only heard them, of course, I have also subbed in with them, um, and I could feel that in first person. And especially LA, it's a big melting pot. So many different cultures, so many different people, which is one of the beauties of this city, this environment. Yeah,
Yeah, I have just one last question for you. Just
please.
kind of a big, broad question. What is some advice you'd give to us clarinet players listening who wants to be a principal clarinetist or just pursue a career in clarinet? What's your biggest piece of advice you'd have?
Hmm. I have to think about this. I don't have an immediate answer. Um, work on your fundamentals and try to find someone who really takes care of the ABC details, your setup, your tone quality, your tone production, your muscle engagement, how you should blow, your tongue, your articulation. Someone who really is knowledgeable and you can trust. And don't be afraid of exploring options. Go around, and I tell that as a person who was not allowed at the beginning to go around and see what was around me. Take the chance to go to a masterclass, even just to listen to a masterclass and see how that person teaches, and go to another masterclass and take a lesson, or ask someone who you really like to play for them, and see what is the best fit for you. Because I might say something that resonates to you, but maybe I am not the best fit to you. I'm not the person who can teach you better or can inspire you better, and maybe there is someone else who can. So choose your mentors wisely. Always aim for the person, for the teacher, never for the school name, never for the city. Just follow someone who you really trust.
Yeah, that's a great piece of advice.
Yeah.
Well, it's been such a pleasure to have you on, and thank you so much for taking the time. I know me and all the listeners are really going to appreciate everything you've had to say.
Oh, I hope my words could help anyone, and I'm very grateful to have been a guest on your show. Best of luck with the continuation and with your next guests, and I hope to see you soon. If you have any other questions, that just shoot them my way.
Thanks. Yeah, of course. It was very inspiring. It's like time to get in the practice room now. Time to find my sound.
Time to practice 40 hours a day.
Yes,
Which you
exactly.
should not, by the way. It's very counterproductive.
Bad advice, sarcastic.
Yeah.
All right, well, it was a pleasure.
My pleasure, anyway.